Welcome everybody back to the Cast. This is part 2 of Make Cornwall Great Again with Jameson, Spargo and Matt Harris. We've done the part 1 has already been out. Hopefully you've listened to it. If not, then basically we've spoken about the general election and bits and bobs around it, and somehow we got on to education reform. This part is not much different. I think it's about an hour and a half long or something like that. So give it a whirl. Don't be daunted by the amount of time. Concentrate and think about things a little bit. Get away from the 3-minute videos on Facebook. They're boring. So this is part 2 of Make Cornwall Great Again. And I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you do or if you don't on the comments anywhere. Awesome. Thanks a lot. Here we go.
This, like I said, I mean, I've voted Tories most of my life, to be honest, and it's because of I'm liberal. I'm liberal, but I'm right leaning, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But the trouble is now you'd be considered right wing, and I don't think I'm right wing as such. I think the spectrum's moved a bit, and
It's a bit all over the place.
It's a wide spectrum.
You can't.
Not being funny now. Anyone on the right is classed as far right now, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
Anyone chatting shit on Facebook and stuff could be like social justice warriors. They're probably far left, but they might not be.
I hate social justice warriors.
I probably used to be one.
But it's like that saying, isn't it? If you're not, what is it? If you're not a liberal in your 20s, then you haven't got a heart, and if you're not a conservative in your 30s, you haven't got a head.
That's actually far from true. That is an interesting analogy.
Yeah.
Well, it is, and it's true because when you are young, I suppose, and
you feel like the whole world's against you.
Well, this isn't to criticise the young, if you like, because they'll probably all hate me now. But I suppose it comes with life experience and stuff like that. Really, maybe
different lines of work. If you think about it, when you're in your 20s, you're at the bottom of the pile.
Well, yeah,
you try and work your life ahead, and then when you get to your 30s, you're starting to.
Well, I suppose you feel like. I suppose when you're younger, and you got your whole life ahead of you, you feel that people are putting you down, like the whole Brexit thing. Everyone's like, the old people have taken my future away by voting. Well, not being funny. A lot of the young
people didn't come out to vote.
No, this is it. And then they kicked. To be fair, to be brutally honest, they didn't vote and then moaned when the vote didn't go their way.
Mm-hmm.
And what did they expect? That everyone should vote on their behalf? Do you know what I mean? To do what they want.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
And as the lazy teenager was in their bedroom, they said, "Yes, no, we did expect you to vote on our behalf, Mr. Maris.
Well, yeah.
Did you vote Remain? No, you didn't vote, so I just voted for myself."
Yeah, well, yeah. This is it.
And then Mr. Maris went to work as the teenager, was still stuck in their bedroom on their phone, wondering why Brexit didn't go their way.
Shouting about it on Reddit.
Yep. Yeah. I've got to write on my blog post immediately.
Be angry about it. I didn't vote because I didn't like it.
Yes, I don't. Democracy is failing.
Yeah. But I hate the way it's gone.
Yeah,
the shocking truth.
Although I do still stand by the fact that if you don't want to vote, don't vote. I don't think.
I'm to be honest, I was very close to not voting this year for the first time ever.
I know what it is. It's the dog.
I was
wondering what it was.
Yeah, for the first time ever, I was not going to vote. Because, as we've said before, the Tory campaign was absolutely dreadful.
It was the most dire I've ever seen.
I didn't agree with.
I didn't agree with any of them, to be honest.
I barely agree with. I probably disagree with probably 70-80% of Labour's manifestos. You know what I mean? So that's why
I didn't agree with.
It was one of the two in it that you had to.
To be fair, if you were to look at the manifesto of the Big Three, they were all crap.
They were awful. this is what I was saying about
Which
UKIP.
is why Mebby and Kerno is the future, ladies and gentlemen.
This is what, but this is what I was saying about
Might wake up
the
your child
UKIP.
again.
The UKIP manifesto had probably more policies that suited or that
Your personal feeling.
Yeah, like I mean the whole tuition fee thing. I don't agree with free tuition for everyone.
No, I don't.
I agreed with UKIP's policy that tuition should be free for certain, to like your medicine, engineering. Do you know what I mean? Because
Hang on, has Maris made us agree with UKIP?
Well, yeah,
I mean, if that's their stance, then I'm pretty much in favour because that's what we need to do.
Because I don't get me wrrong.
It's sensible. I mean,
Why should taxpayers be paying for people to go to university to study, I don't know, fashion or something like that? Do you know what I mean? It's not
sorry,
necessary,
fashion
is it?
students.
Yeah, sorry, fashion students. But do you know what I mean? And I think if it's
for me personally, I think having been to America and knowing how their higher educational policy works, I think if you're only paying $9,000 a year, that's actually not that bad. We did a tour of me and my missus did a tour of Harvard University, which was at the time the number 1 rated university in the world. I believe it's now MIT, if I'm not mistaken, which is just down the road. I believe it is now. Yeah. So we were doing the tour, and it was a student giving the tour. I asked the question. I've got to ask, how much is your tuition? How much do you think her tuition is for a 3-year university course?
For 3 years, I would
3
say,
years.
I reckon it's about $60,000 or dollars, or
We'll do it in dollars.
I reckon it's $70,000 a year.
Yeah, I was going to say roughly that. I was going to say they come out with like nearly £200,000, don't they?
So it was $250,000 for 3 years. So very
that is Harvard.
When
I
I was asking, it's probably going to be the same for a lot of the higher rating universities. MIT will probably be the same. Brown's probably the same.
Well,
Yale will be the
haven't
same.
they got 20? And that there's 20 colleges that are what they called.
They're just
Ivy League.
Oh yeah, and the prices for it is ridiculous. I mean, thankfully, if you do come from a poorer background, if you're earning less than $150,000 a year in your household,
Hi Jack.
you can get a lot of that paid for through the state. So poorer families, if you do have a very smart kid, you do have the chance to be able to send your kid to a higher college and not have to worry about it.
The whole student. You didn't go to uni, did you?
No, I was too messed up in the head. I'll admit that.
Well, no, but only because I was looking the other day. I was just because I was speaking to.
Were you thinking about doing a university course, Maris?
No.
I want to become the best.
I'm not a fan of students. I've got to say. I'm sorry, students, but I'm just
the microphone,
not. I'm sorry. I'm just not.
With students, I think it all depends on what you're learning.
Obviously, that doesn't. I know that people will now probably go, well, when you go to the hospital, a doctor sorts you out, and he was a student. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. I just.
Yeah, but there's certain things, isn't there? There's certain things that you need
some
it for.
students act like fucking wankers when they've got
I
their
delivered.
degree.
I delivered to Penryn campus. Like, I've been delivering there all week, and I went in there yesterday.
I wonder what that's like.
Obviously, it was boiling, and
Oh, yeah.
it was dead in there. And I was like, so I went to the post room, and I said to the guy, I said, it's quiet here today, isn't it? He went, a lot of the students don't come in when it's too hot.
Wow.
And I thought,
that's quite
brilliant.
Surprising. Well, to be fair, I know you've probably come in June, so they may have done all of their exams already. It might just be the end of term time. So I will try and defend them on that basis. Uh-oh, the child is trying to get out of bed, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to try and kill Lewis now. No, back to point. Falmouth is now rated as one of the top 20 universities in this country.
is it?
Yeah, it's been gaining momentum and, it's been gaining a lot of
I
popularity.
deliver there quite a lot as well.
And it's done really well. It might be because of its specific focus base on it being an art college as such.
This is what I was going to say, right? Mm-hmm. I was looking at the student loans, And obviously, everyone's going, I don't want to pay, why should I pay for my tuition?
Well, obviously, if you look at it from a student standpoint, if you were a doctor, for example, that's 54 grand, which is a lot of money.
Yeah, but look, if it's got here student repayments, if your income per year, this is after you've graduated, if your income per year is 17,775, you don't pay anything. This is a month.
17 grand a month. Wow,
your
I really should have studied at
your,
uni.
No, your salary. If your salary is say under 18 grand, you don't pay anything a month. If you earn 20 grand a year, you pay back £16 a month.
It's not, I know it's proverbial peanuts.
If you earn 50 grand a year, which is the top bracket on here, you have to pay back £241 a month. Well, I'm not being funny. If you're on 50 grand a year,
hang on. Let me just break down the math.
My issue with it is if you've gone to uni, you've graduated, and because of that course that you've 50 grand a year or more, why shouldn't you have to pay? Why should you begrudge paying £200 a month?
No, I don't disagree with that at all.
Do you know what I mean?
It's just trying to get a balance. I think when you got like nurses who probably don't get paid enough and they are expected to try and pay some of their bits back, it could be a real struggle, especially if they got bills to pay and things like that.
But surely they would be paying that. Basic salary for a nurse in most normal areas is 23 grand a year starting, isn't it?
Roughly, yeah, I would say that.
And then it goes up. So that's over 400 quid a week, which isn't a great deal, don't get me wrong. But that means she would be paying £54 a month. I know it's not ideal. This is what I'm saying. I think medicine, like I said, engineering,
it's the
law.
STEM fields.
Yeah,
not law.
I think law. I know you obviously got but
you don't need more lawyers. Solicitors are bastards. They just rinse you of your money.
If you want to be a lawyer, you pay for yourself, man. Yeah, you pay for
you will make your money back.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about it. The STEM fields: science, technology, engineering, mathematics. We need people in that.
Yeah.
That's the focus area.
Well,
and if you keep saying that,
I'm happy to pay for that. Those people
I don't know, even just pay. Just give them less tuition fees, that you can actually encourage people to do it.
Well, it was £3 grand, wasn't it? And
then it went up to 9.
When it went up to 9 because of Clegg said, "Oh yeah, we're not going to double pay anything," and then he fucked up.
Yeah, cheers, Nick.
Yeah,
you killed the Liberals. You thankless tosser. You absolute idiot! We're going to share. This is the weird thing. I'm amazed we haven't come to this. Obviously, we're talking about power sharing. It isn't. Do you not find it weird that when the Conservatives power shared with the Liberals, when they took it away from Labour, they made mincemeat out of the Liberal Democrats?
Yeah.
Now we're in a weird power share situation where the Tories were in power, and now they've got to share power with the DUP. Do you think it makes them a lot weaker, and which is why there is the possibility that they will give in to the DUP's demands?
Do you think they'll give in, or do you think they'll just try and rule as a minority?
They won't be able to. You can't rule as a minority. They get squashed on every rule they try to face, and then you'd need a re-election. That's why you can't rule with a minority. It's why proportional representation wouldn't work either.
Would.
Go on.
It would.
Enlighten us.
Go on.
Oh,
again, this was voted in 2011.
It depends. It wouldn't work in the same. It wouldn't work if we still had the same setup as what we've got, like as in seats per place or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So like you'd have to change. You'd have to change the parliamentary system and the cabinet and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So.
Why is this falling down?
It's got a bit limp, innit?
It's lost its length. Oh dear. Anyway, carry on, nurse.
Yeah, so my suggestion would be to pick... The public picks the cabinet. So no more MPs per constituency. Nothing like that. Each person stands... So anybody that wants to be a foreign secretary promotes himself as, I want to be the foreign secretary and these are what I want to do, and then people vote for that.
Like an election of
the cabinet. We elect the cabinet rather than we elect a party, and then the party elects a cabinet.
This is the problem, isn't it, with governments in general. I mean, at the end of the day,
it needs to be a cohesive unit.
But there's no reason why it wouldn't be. It couldn't be a cohesive unit. They'd still have to
Imagine,
challenge.
imagine if you will, Lewis, that Jeremy Corbyn said, "I want to be defence minister."
Yeah.
All right, hear me out. Imagine he wants to do that, and then who would be a really poor? Nigel Farage says, "I want to be the prime minister." Let's say they both get in.
Right.
All right.
They would never get
So
on.
Nigel Farage, who's clearly
all hail Farage.
all
I
hail,
love Farage.
all hail, fucking feckless
Wait,
beer swilling toss bag that is.
I'll educate you on Farage.
Oh.
Farage is the most influential politician of the 20th century.
He's certainly like cool.
Well, he is.
21st.
20th and 20th. Well, yeah, 21st.
Don't know about 20th. 21st.
I will agree that he's certainly very influential. I've never known anyone
but
not to have any form of power yet can sway an entire country.
Yeah, but to be fair,
He's certainly that.
What I will say as well is he's probably been the only politician that's achieved what he set out to do.
That's very true. I can't argue against that. So anyway,
So
back to the point.
Good old Farage.
Back to the point. Yeah. So let's say that they were the power sharing. Now, I don't know. Was he pro or anti-Trident, Farage? I would assume pro.
I would say pro.
I would say
so.
pro. I would imagine. Now, if
Well,
he
it's a
was
Nazi,
pro
isn't he? Of
Trident,
course he
and
would
then
be.
you got Jeremy Corbyn going, "I want to get rid of it." You can't operate on that basis.
Why not?
Because
He's the defence secretary. He's the defence secretary. He chooses.
Well,
yeah, you can't.
You can't do that.
Why not?
You need a quiet dog.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, what's the point in having the prime minister then if he's going to be
overruled by a
Don't have a
tree-hugging-
prime minister. Don't have a prime minister.
Oh right, now you've stripped it down.
You don't need- Why do you need it? Why do you need
how-
one guy
alright,
that's in charge? When you've elected a cabinet.
So when Angela Merkel wants to talk to the leader of the country, and you've decided that we're not having one,
yeah, she talks to the whole fucking lot of them.
You're an
but
anarchist.
sit down.
she's not
Oh,
going to do.
no.
She hasn't got
She
the time
talks-
to do that.
Why
Of course
not?
she has.
Of course she has.
She hasn't got the
no,
time.
if she
She's too
wants
busy
to-
letting millions and millions of migrants.
If she wants to talk to Great Britain, if she wants to speak about a specific
I'm
topic,
afraid when
speak to the relevant
When
person.
you have to have a leader of
You've
the
got to have a
country.
leader, and you've got to
Okay.
have a cohesive unit.
It should be
Okay,
me.
that's fine, but then he just has to he can just say
he
this is
keeps-
what all these people are
Breaking
saying.
news: Theresa May makes offer to allow EU citizens to stay in the UK after Brexit. Well, what a surprise!
Well, that's actually
gonna
very
kick
sensible.
everybody out.
That's
Of course-
actually
of course
very
it is.
sensible. That's very sensible. That's at least one thing sorted.
But that was something she came out and said anyway, and the EU started to play hardball on it, didn't they? Saying, "Oh well, we don't know about this," and it's like
It's a simple case of just being very sensible. Because I mean, a lot of EU citizens have lived in this country for years and have paid into our tax system, so they should of course be allowed to
and
stay.
to be honest, a lot of the expats and that are over there.
Exactly. So
living off
the
their own savings or their own money.
We could have had a
Into
horrible
the
deal where we'd have to send them back, and then we'd get lots of wrinkly, leathery Spanish living oldies who can't work, and it would have been. No, that's too offensive. I'm not going to say that. But we would have ended up with a lot of people who have, let's say, relaxed a lot more and probably aren't willing to go back to work and want to live out in the sun.
Yeah,
Which
so
is
they'd all move to
perfectly
Cornwall.
understandable, because if you worked for that, you should be allowed to keep that lifestyle.
Okay, fair enough. We are coming up to we've been going nearly an hour and a half now.
Have we?
Yeah, easy.
Hour 1:23 it is.
Easy.
Well, we've been live on Facebook.
Easy. We haven't even touched on anything we wanted to fucking talk
talked
about.
about
no, we
5
have.
views.
We have. There was a couple things that we haven't mentioned really. Was the recent sort of since the election and the election up to the election was the terrorist attacks and all the incidences that have
Oh
happened.
god, yeah. Very unpleasant.
So we might as well
But
start.
very unsurprising.
Well, that was what I thought. I'm not surprised that something's happened so close to the election. So say like the Ariana Grande concert thing. Mm-hmm. That was just before the election.
Just before, yeah.
And you just think, well, hold on, how have we gone? What was the most recent one before that?
It would have
It's
been
the
London Westminster
Westminster.
Bridge.
Yeah, the first one, the one with Masood
because we had two
that
in London,
happened
didn't
before.
we?
That was the one where the policeman got stabbed.
Oh yeah, and when was
outside the
that?
House of
That was
Parliament,
last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, that was
No,
in March.
no, that was
in
this
March.
year.
That was just before Ariana Grande. Pretty well,
right.
That was in
yeah.
March.
Right. Okay.
So I was up in
right.
Wales
So
for
which
that.
one?
It was a
Oh,
month,
right.
and it was the 22nd.
Right, okay.
And then everyone came out with that ridiculous conspiracy.
So
theory,
am I thinking of the Lee Rigby one?
Lee Rigby
Lee
was
Rigby is
years
about
before. That was
Yeah,
years ago,
but
was
that
it?
was
Is it that long?
until this
so.
year. Until this year, that was the Lee Rigby incident was the last one that
No.
we've seen.
No, I think
No,
it
you've
happens.
had-
It's
What
happened
have we had in
quite
between?
sporadically.
Yeah, we've had the 3 this year.
Yeah.
So far.
I'm trying to think
We
of
had-
what we. A lot of it was happening more in mainland Europe. There was certainly a lot.
There's a lot in
in
France for a situation.
Yeah, there's
France.
France. It's
France,
always going on.
Belgium.
It's ridiculous. There's just been another one. Is it today? Of a guy attacking a policeman with a meat cleaver, shouting.
A lot of right. I've got a few. There's a few
No, but there's
issues
been
here. That,
several.
there is. There's a
probably a
few
lot
things
more.
that I get a bit wound up about. So
I get
obviously
very wound up about this.
all the things that have happened are obviously terrible, but the ones where you've got someone driving a car over the bridge and running people over, that doesn't seem like a very thought out plan. That just seems like someone's really fucked off and they've just gone,
No,
right,
it's
that's
not.
what
No.
I'm going to do.
I
Whereas
think-
you look at the
do you-
Ariana
It is.
Grande one,
The
that
whole-
is a bit more
No,
planned
the
out.
whole Tommy Robinson has said, and he's right. I wouldn't say a big fan of him. That's the wrong word to say. Do you know what I mean? But I think people have started to now actually take note that some of the stuff he says is on the money. Do you know what I mean? And like he said about these terrorist
He's
manuals
certainly
that-
very strong worded in his approach.
Well, he is.
Yes.
But at the same time, not being funny, the whole softly spoken. Let's not talk about it too much.
yeah.
Like in case, and I hope it goes away.
It won't. It will not go away.
And I've had
Of course
this
it won't.
argument before with friends, and the thing is, I think people will say Tommy Robinson's a racist. Well, to me, he's someone who's grown up in one of the most deprived and
Heavily
Islamic,
Muslim
Islamic
Yeah.
areas. Do you know what I mean? So we're growing up in Cornwall.
Yeah, but we're
You
so
know,
far away from it.
Yeah, I mean, we probably don't even know like 10 Muslims between us. Do you know what I mean? Whereas he's grown up in an area where
Probably
he's
went to
seen
school.
it happening.
Yeah.
And
They shouldn't. They certainly shouldn't be ignored.
no, I
think there needs to be balance. I think a lot of the problem is that some people will now persecute a lot of Muslims when in fact a lot of them they're just the same as us. They just want to practice their
of
religion.
course.
Yeah.
That's something that needs to be taken apart. And you've got to think that I can't remember when it was certainly within the week, we've had another van attack, but this time it was a white guy running over
Yeah,
Muslims.
that's Monday night. Yeah,
It was Monday. And, things
But
like...
is that? Do you think that that's the type of response that we're going to see?
yeah.
Because
we've
like,
seen it.
people, yeah,
We've
exactly.
seen it. It's happened.
Exactly. So this
It's effectively a revenge attack, and
Yeah.
the trouble
And
is, it's
that,
because
you can't fight like with like.
no, of course you can't.
It's a
no, but the
stupid
fact that
way of doing it.
But
people
I
feel
think-
like the government and maybe the police aren't doing anything.
Well, of course they're not.
But
They
that's
haven't
not. I
been
don't. think That's because.
Yeah, but
do
I
you
don't
not
know-
think
I
that
don't
there would have been more attacks if we didn't have GCHQ checking on us and all the time and all that sort of stuff?
Well, yeah, the police are constantly.
must be
foiling-
constantly
they are.
doing
They're
it.
constantly
Yeah.
foiling attacks. I think they
because
foiled
at the end of the
up
day,
But how
on-
come
they're
then-
never going.
how-
They're never
what-
going to report on an attack that was foiled.
No.
Who cares?
But they
Yeah, but they should. Why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't they?
no, but they have.
They
apparently-
should.
They have apparently-
There's probably a reason why. Because I mean, if you look at the intelligence service as a whole,
Yeah, they
if
can't
they know
give
if
away
they
where
can't
they're
give
getting-
away things, so the number of attacks that may have been stopped, we may not know about them because it might be in the in the public interest not to spread it about, because if they do that, if these other
Yeah,
terrorist
they'll
cells do
force
exist,
them
they'll
underground,
just
like-
go underground.
But I mean, there's.
They're just going to go under the. Surely they're just going to be as underground as they can possibly get anyway.
They probably would
Because
anyway.
they
'cause I
know
mean-
everyone
Well, yeah,
knows
but-
they're
yeah,
being
but
looked
yeah,
at.
but no, I don't think they are though, because, like I said,
Well, obviously not.
No, but we're
Yeah.
looking at it from a point of view where, like I said, we live
miles away
from it. When the attack happened in Paris, the Bataclan attack, the man who was the mastermind behind that was the world's most wanted man at one point, and he was walking around the estates because in Brussels there's a lot of heavily Muslim obviously areas, and he was apparently just walking around there for weeks.
Yeah.
And there's a poll that came out through Channel 4 with what's his name, Trevor
McDonald? No,
Trevor. Is it Trevor Phillips? No, I can't remember his name now. He they did this poll, and apparently 66% of British Muslims wouldn't basically grass or wouldn't inform the police if they knew someone was basically a terrorist.
Do you know the
sympathiser.
size of the survey and where it was conducted?
Well, it's 1,000. It's 1,000.
1,000 is nowhere near a big enough sample
No,
size. You
well,
need
no,
a
but
much
that's-
bigger,
still, it's
wider
an
sample
indication.
size.
Yeah, but that's
Isn't
how
it?
opinion polls work, isn't it? They work on that merit. But don't get me wrong. This isn't. I'm not like saying Muslims are like this. Do you know what I mean? What I'm saying is that for a man who's the most wanted man in the world at that point,
And he's able to
be
just
able
stroll
to walk
about.
around in a heavily populated Muslim area and not be reported for weeks.
I suppose.
It does make you think, is there a bit of...
I mean,
It's a hell of a difficult subject to
You-
approach
well,
because
yeah, exactly. And
everyone...
you always feel like you're treading on eggshells as well, because you can't... If you say something...
Derogatory towards a Muslim person, they
yeah.
may accuse you of Islamophobia.
Well, they're on about...
Exactly,
Yeah,
that's-
but do you know that they're on about... actually making that a crime now, Islamophobia. Like Diana Ross, I was going to say. Diane Abbott had come out and said it, and they're trying to sort of push this through. And the trouble is, once you
He's
start...
claiming there's a chain reaction.
Once you start doing that, you're on a slippery slope because
Oh God, yeah.
what you're doing is it's an ideology. It's not a race.
You
It's an
would need
ideology,
to
and if you clamp down on criticising that, well, you got to clamp down on criticising
Christianity,
Anything else.
Sikhism, Hinduism,
yeah.
everything.
Scientology.
It opens the can of worms, doesn't it?
Of course it does. And what it does is it
It's
protects-
almost like a denying of free speech.
Well,
Well,
it is.
do you know what
And
that's
the
where
thing
it's
is, free
leaking
speech
into?
is all about being able
Being
to,
able to
criticise
take
ideas
criticism.
and stuff
Yeah.
and take it.
There's a certain level where you got to do it. Like if it's purposely shown to be hateful, then yeah, it's got to
Well,
be
of
dealt
course,
with.
if you're saying I hate, if I go around going I
So-and-so.
hate gays, all gays should be killed, then of course that isn't
That's hate
right.
speech.
Do you know what I
That's
mean?
that's.
There's, and it's the same with the whole thing of fire. You can't, saying fire in a theatre. Obviously they say that free speech is great, but you just can't use it to say like fire in a theatre and everyone panics. Do you know what I mean?
It's about being sensible and not
Well, of
causing
course, yeah.
needless panic.
But
Yeah.
no, I think the trouble is with all these attacks, and the guy who ran those the Muslims over, attacked the Muslims on Monday. It's effectively a terrorist attack. There's no doubt.
Of course it is.
No different
Yeah.
to what they've done.
Of course it is.
The only difference is that
He's a white
That-
boy saying kill all Muslims.
well, they don't get me wrong. The left, I always say the left or the liberals, and these people that are inclined to sort of
I would say the regressives.
I would call
Is
them
the best way to
regressive
put
left. Mahid Nawaz calls them that, doesn't he? And it is regressives because what they're doing is enabling people to hide behind Islamophobia to get away with being terrorists, if you like, or harboring those sort of things. And to jump on this guy who is a disgusting attack that he did, but they couldn't wait to say, "Oh, it's a white guy," and it's the far right, and then they brought up the murder of Joe Cox that happened last year.
No,
That's two far right murders in the space of what in the last decade? When was the only other one I can think of that was a far right attack was Anders Breivik was it Norway?
Yes,
Norway.
it would have been Norway.
Yeah, I mean fair enough. He killed about 50 people or whatever, but.
Yeah.
But you cannot. I don't think you can compare like for like. You cannot compare.
I bet if you were
Islamic
to, I
terrorists.
bet you if you were to look at some American shootings,
Oh yeah, well yeah, but I don't know if that's considered far right.
some
is it?
of them will be, not all of them, but I bet you there's a large amount.
Well, apparently since 9/11, there's been over 30,000 Islamic terrorist, attacks basically. Well, obviously throughout the whole world.
Yeah, I was
most of
gonna
it's
say.
obviously in the Middle East and stuff, and to be honest, a lot of it's happening in Europe now. But I mean, it's
You
worrying.
could look at that and say, like, well, you look at Syria, say, in like the Middle East. How many attacks happen there, which is just like
It's
a
probably
war
every
zone.
day. It's
Yeah,
probably every
I'm
day.
sure
But
it
they're
is.
not being-
But like, they don't count up
they are
how many
terrorist
times.
attacks. They are suicide bombers. They are roadside bombers.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're not.
I'm not talking about like these are like literally
Organised.
suicide bombers and
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm not.
It's
talking,
such a messed up thing. It's all.
there's no doubt about
such
it either. I mean, the whole thing with foreign policy and that, I don't agree that that's the cause of these people doing this over here now. But I think it's a part of it.
I reckon
It's destabilised. It's destabilised the Middle East without a doubt, and that's allowed people to.
It is
to preach this.
I
hate.
think that's possibly the largest reason why it's happening, because
Yeah, but if that's the case,
here we go. Before 2001, how many Muslim attacks were probably happening in the UK? I bet you couldn't even name any on one hand.
I don't know.
There
But
may be
apparently
one or two.
In the 70s, there was more terrorist attacks in the 70s than there are now.
Yeah, and that would have been because of the IRA.
Well, yeah,
and how they used to
but
operate. Now
people talk about the foreign policy. Sweden. What has Sweden ever done? What has Sweden ever done?
we will.
And
I'll tell you what. We'll get to that.
Yeah, but Sweden are getting.
I
attacked.
will get to that.
Brussels.
I will get to that. Now,
Brussels haven't
I
intervened
think
in there.
if you look at, since we've gone into war with all these countries in the Middle East, so Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya. I know it's not the Middle East, but obviously
Well, it's a heavily Islamic country.
the Arab Spring and all of that. Now, because we've invaded all of these places, because we've sent troops to attack on the behalf of, the opposition, you look at all the places that we've attacked, and then they've gone, well, you've destabilised our country because this is what the Taliban and ISIS and all of these extremist ideology groups have come in. They've gone, well, here's what's happened. The Americans, the Russians,
The West,
the British,
effectively,
the West, they've come in, they've ruined your country. We will fix your country, which I don't think they have that intention, but they're able to filter in this ideology. So when people come over, if there's or whether they're just disillusioned with the West in general, they will go there. They may do a bit of training. It's more likely that only maybe a few have gone over. They've then come back to their own
450.
countries, and then they could be the leaders of mosques. They could be things like that, and they're not going through like the internet or anything like that. They're just sticking to old school ways of doing things. They have a perfect legitimate right to go back to their country of birth, especially if they've got families and things like that.
Yeah, but I think
and if they're getting that kind of ideology put into their head, because
it's an extreme form it's the most literal form of Islam. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's not. People say it's a twisted form. They are literally taking
You can twist it any way you want at the end of the day. But you think if you're a Muslim person, but you've been brought up with that as well, and then once you get to 18 or whatever, and you start
looking at other ways of looking at it.
And there's someone you follow a Facebook page that just supports your religion, and it kind of starts saying it this, and then you get slowly built into it. It's that's gonna happen.
It's all dependent on the interpretation of the Quran.
Well, like I said, they take it
independently.
It
depends on what kind. There's an awful lot of different interpretations of the Quran. I believe it's one of the more. I think it's the Saudi representation. Wahhabism, is it?
Wahhabism, yeah. You've got Wahhabism, and then you've got the Sunni Muslims and the Shiite Muslims, and the Sunni, I think, tend to be more.
They're both as bad as each other, to be fair.
Well, yeah. You've got the Ahmadi Muslims, the most liberal. A lot of them are like the Israeli Muslims, and they are the most liberal, and they're often actually classed as non-Muslims because they're so liberal.
Of course. And they're probably the ones that are attacked by Muslims the most.
Yeah, they are, without a doubt. There's a shopkeeper, and I think it was Glasgow or something like that. I think.
I think I remember what you're talking about.
A guy, another Muslim, drove
from
200 miles away or something.
It was something like
And
Birmingham,
stabbed
wasn't
it.
it?
Yeah, he stabbed him because he had signs up in his shop and stuff, and he was basically saying "Happy Easter" to the Christians. Do you know what I mean? It's a completely different world, though, isn't it?
It's.
Do you think it's something that is...
I think it needs. I think it really needs addressing though.
It needs addressing, but is it something that the religion itself needs to go through?
Yeah.
Is it something that maybe Christianity and a lot of the other religions that are now, you'd
it
say,
needs a
more
reformation,
peaceful?
but the problem with it is, I'm sorry, I'm quite into all this. I've been for years, but the problem is that the Bible is the inspired word of God, whereas the Quran is the interpretation, is the word of God. So everything that happens in the Quran effectively is what God, their God, Allah, tells them to do. Do you know what I mean? Through Muhammad. So that's why the Bible could be reformed, because what they were saying was, these men didn't mean that at the time. They meant this and stuff like that. Whereas if you're changing the Quran, you're obviously changing the word of God effectively to them. So that's blasphemy, that's heresy to say that. So it's a difficult one. There's a lot of people that try and reform it.
Try to modernise it as such.
Mahid Nawaz and Ayan Hirsi Ali. If you read both of their books, they're amazing. But Mahid Nawaz he's still a Muslim, and Ayan Hirsi Ali, she basically escaped. I can't remember. I think it might have been Iran or somewhere like that, and she's persecuted now for speaking out about it. And it must be awful, mustn't it, to be.
You got people like Salman Rushdie as well.
Well, yeah, he had
you try and criticise.
Well, he had a fatwa.
On your head.
He wrote a book, didn't he? Yeah, and they issued.
What are they called? The Satanic Verses, I think it was called.
Yeah, and they issued a fatwa on him. And
do you think we're on the verge of some sort of world war?
A world war, a civil war, possibly.
No.
Civil war. You don't?
I don't think so. It would be.
Do you not think
I think
another breakdown in economics and maybe an escalation in the Middle East could?
Do you know what? I think
push
countries are starting to realise that with all of these interferences that we keep doing in the Middle East, it's not working.
No.
I think surprisingly, you're going to love this, because here's another thing I said I'd never do. Praise Donald Trump. Donald Trump has openly said, no, we don't want to try and actually instigate any form of war in the Middle East because it's clearly not working.
Yeah.
He went back on his word. He dropped the biggest bomb ever to be in existence in Syria. So, again, don't trust the Trump.
Except for the two in Japan.
That wasn't Donald Trump's fault, to be fair.
No.
But
what I'm saying is, you
the
said
biggest non-nuclear bomb.
Yeah, that's I just wanted to clarify.
I think politicians are wising up to the idea that actually all these attacks that have been happening in the Middle East, it's not actually improving the situation.
What I don't get is, with all the firepower of the Americans, the British, everybody that's involved, how can we just not crush?
Because we have moral standards, Lewis.
Yeah, but
you can't just go in
I'm not saying
a country.
Yeah, but
you're not obliterating a country.
Yeah, but that's the trouble. That's what the likes of ISIS and that do, is they go in and they're in amongst civilians, and this is why there's obviously, and rightly so, outrage when 100 civilians are killed when a US bomb's dropped, but.
Because that was what was happening in Iraq for years. There was errant strikes.
Yeah, but it can.
And then they would go in and go, look at what the Americans have done.
Yeah, they killed 100 of our people, but ISIS, for example, they apparently do go in and hide in amongst, or they're in these cities. Well,
they take over the city, don't they? At the end of the day, and the idea is you're trying to force them back out of the city.
That's the trouble. I mean, in theory, you would think that they could go, right, send all the troops in, go in and flush them out, and we're talking about places that.
But there's so many innocent people are going to get killed if you do that.
Yeah, but
you can't do that.
But when we sort of think of these places and think, go to war, well, you're not going to war, and you're not going to flush them out in a little town. You're going in to flush them out of a country.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And guess what? It's quite simple, because if they know that you're going to do something like that, they're just going to spread and go to other places.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
simple example.
Osama
bin Laden was found where, Lewis?
Pakistan.
Yeah. He wasn't in Afghanistan. He spent 10 years in Pakistan.
Which I think's hilarious.
The Americans going, Where are you? Oh, you're next door.
Well, that's right.
Why
I
don't
can
we
remember-
think
I thought
about
they had Where's Waldo. I thought
Waldo.
they would be good at it.
I can remember when I was younger, and the whole Iraq War was going on, you know, or starting to, and the whole thing of Saddam, and I can remember then thinking, oh, we should go in, get him, kill him, and get rid of him because he's horrible, because he's raping, or his kids were raping people at their weddings, and
then
killing
you
people,
realise
boiling
what he
people.
was actually doing.
Yeah,
he was
but-
actually trying to stabilise the entire country because he could see that there were.
Well,
I
that's
think-
kind of
I
that's
think-
actually what's ended up happening, isn't
I
it?
don't
They got rid of him, and
Guess
there's a
what?
power vacuum.
It's what happened in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
It's what
You got rid of
happened in
Gaddafi, you
Iraq.
got rid of,
It happened in Libya, and thank Christ that hasn't happened in Syria.
Yeah, but the trouble is-
as bad as Assad
Well, that's where they're
probably
not moving.
clearly
Well,
is.
this is it.
But then you
yeah.
can't move Assad because the Russians like Assad, don't they?
Well, yeah, but also Assad,
I think
Assad
the Russians have realised actually if we move this one as well, it's just another place where they can expand.
Yeah.
As much as an asshole
Yeah,
as he
yeah,
clearly
yeah, yeah.
is,
it's such a difficult
it's
thing.
it's
Oh,
way
yeah,
beyond the
it's
comprehension of us.
Oh,
It
without
is-
doubt.
it is.
Why are we
Middle
even
Eastern
discussing
politics is absolutely fucked.
So, on the Kerno cast today, we have discussed most of world politics and foreign policy.
We haven't even mentioned Cornwall.
We did briefly.
We'll
Very
make
briefly.
disclaimers that we didn't mean to offend anyone if we have offended anyone.
Yeah, of course, yeah. We don't. We don't hate
I
anybody.
don't care if I've offended you. Get fucked.
Yeah, yeah.
Offences taken. not
Offence is
given.
taken, not given.
True. Yeah, we've done. That's an hour.
We've
and
nearly done 2 hours.
3/4.
Shall we
Nearly
just
2 hours.
get to 2 hours at least?
Yeah,
I think it's a
What's the
waste.
time? What is it?
148, 146, something like that.
It is
10 more minutes.
1:46.
Well, there is one thing I would, if we're sort of touching on to bring the unstableness of the world,
Instability, Lewis.
instability of the world, and try and bring that in some sort of reflection to Cornwall. I was thinking, I've been looking at, there's a lot of talk about Newquay Airport and around Newquay becoming a spaceport. And
Yeah,
a
space
space, like a
And
space station or a
An
space
interesting
launch
thing.
thing.
Oddly enough, my mother brought this up today as well. When
Is
we
it?
were chatting.
I
walking
think
the dog.
I was thinking about it and I think, I'm looking at it and I think, oh, that's great, that it's such a, forward-thinking thing. It's a great idea, good idea, lots of, bring a lot of jobs, lots of, good paid jobs
Who
and
is
stuff.
funding it, Lewis?
Well, I'm assuming it would be the government of some form or SpaceX.
What is it?
It's a spaceport. So Richard Branson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, this is
Richard
what I
Branson,
thought.
stuff like that.
Branson.
It's
Branson. is-
250 grand a flight or something, isn't it? Or it was
Virgin Galactica or
Yeah.
something.
So-
Did the first one crash?
There was a test that crashed.
There was a test that crashed and people died. Yes.
People
It-
someone
It's
died
not
in it.
funny.
It's not. It's not.
No.
The death
Definitely
of
not
someone
funny.
is really bad.
But that's if you're testing stuff like that. It's a bit like it's
Well,
the
the
same,
test.
same thing
Yeah.
as like SpaceX with what they're doing. Their
Would
idea.
you do
of,
it?
But
I would love to.
What go do
if
the
it was more affordable, I'd certainly consider it.
I would.
It would
love
become
to.
And,
affordable.
Can you
do
imagine
I
going
know.
up there?
Hey, I know who I would send. Go on.
Frage.
No. Again, referring to Bob in voice.
What, I don't remember a name. Is it
Oh, Flat Earth Dave.
Flat
Oh,
Dave?
my
I'd
God.
send him up there. And then he'd be like, it's a conspiracy. It was
Oh, yeah,
filmed on
yeah.
the
Yeah,
outside
true.
of the
They
space
put
station.
fish lens on my eyes.
Oh, Jesus
Each to their
Christ.
own, but
Yeah.
Can,
And then I was thinking about it a little bit more, and I was thinking if, for example, everything descends into some sort of world war, would that
you'll
not?
go and live on the moon.
Well, no. Would that not make? Because back in World War II, Cornwall was
Oh, and
not
make
really
us, make us
attacked.
a target.
Yeah, because it's. I mean,
I
first of
don't
all, we've
think
got.
it would.
Well, you look at.
I
The
don't
good
think
thing
it-
about making it a spaceport in Cornwall is the fact that it's a very low population. There's a shitload of room over Newquay because there's if you think about all the air.
Yeah, RAF base.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got the massive RAF base for a
Yeah,
start.
but most of it's not even
Plus-
being used anymore. Anyway.
Well,
No,
no, and
it's down St Morgan
yeah,
more or less.
well,
these
St
days
Morgan
anyway.
is basically where it is. Yeah, and then there's all sorts of other airfields dotted around that are sort of disused or for different bits and bobs. Anyway, so there's loads of room up there. The RAF base is right there to protect it for anything. You've also got Coldrows down the bottom, which is another down west, which is another sort of target, and the population of Cornwall is really low. So if you put stuff like down there, and don't forget you've got GCHQ imbued as well. You've got all these. The population of Cornwall's low. It's perfect place for the government to put stuff like this, because the population's low. If it is a target, you're not killing shitloads of civilians.
You're killing us.
Well, you are killing. That's the point. But do you trade off that as a Cornish person? Do you trade off that risk for the economic growth?
I think it's so low risk.
Yeah, I think it's
Do you
low
think
risk.
it is low risk?
Why would they?
Do we have nuclear weapons?
Do we? Yes.
Who's going to
I
attack
think there's
us?
probably some in nuclear as well.
Who's going to attack us?
Well, I don't
knowledge,
know. I don't know.
Yeah, he will never develop the technology. If he could, the Americans would
Stupid
destroy
haircut,
him.
man.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny that he keeps firing these
by the way-
missiles and they just go...
This is
False
the
flag,
weird,
mate, false flag.
This is the weird. This is the really bizarre thing, and it was brought up on a Sargon video. He said the greatest thing for world peace has been nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I personally...
When nuclear weapons were invented, all the major countries, so America, Russia, France, Britain,
Germany.
Germany haven't.
Probably not now.
No.
Germany haven't. You got to remember, they're a very unmilitarized place.
Well,
because of all the stuff that happened in the Second World War.
This is why
true.
they're allowing so many migrants in, because they feel so like they feel
Guilty from the past.
they feel like they
I'm trying to think of the other countries. Who are the other countries? The other countries are Israel, India, Pakistan.
Iran
is one, and there's one other. Who would be the ninth? Russia, America, us, France, India, Pakistan, Israel, Iran.
China, Japan, Australia.
I think it might be China.
I'm not sure.
No, I think it might
South
be.
Korea.
No, South Korea haven't, because
they're very afraid of the fact that Kim Jong Un keeps launching these. I think it is China.
It might be China. It probably would be.
So
what's this?
these are the big the people who have
Superpowers.
big places that have these nuclear weapons. They don't really suffer from war anymore. India and Pakistan used to be constantly at war. As soon as they both had nuclear weapons, it certainly died down a lot because
it would do, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
it's the simple case of if you fuck me up too much, we're just going to fuck you up, and then we're both fucked.
Yeah.
And ever since then, when was the last time Britain got invaded?
Well, this is why.
Well, yeah.
When was the last time France got invaded? When was the last time America got invaded? When was the last time China got invaded? It just doesn't happen because we have large arms.
Well,
So
this is
build
my
your
issue
spaceport,
with,
go mad with
with
it.
Corbyn's stance on disarmament, because
It just wouldn't work.
the trouble is, it's like I said before, like, as you know, I love my analogies. It would be like going on Facebook and going, right, everyone, I think everyone should leave their doors and windows and we'd stop burglaries. And I'm gonna start by leaving my doors and windows unlocked tonight. All that would happen is you'd get robbed. Do you know what I mean?
Didn't Jeremy Clarkson make this mistake of putting his card details up in a newspaper, and then within 20 minutes he had $5,000 nicked out of his account?
But yeah,
Clarkson.
I think you have it as a deterrent, and people say, "Oh well, we can."
And it works.
Yeah,
It's had 72 years of proof that it works, so it stays, and we can have a spaceport. So yeah, 100%.
Go for it.
100%. 100%.
Okay. Anything else about Cornwall that we should have discussed?
Well, do you want to?
Because I feel like we're quite good at starting on a particular. We go on one train of topic, and then we end up finding
going
that
off on a tangent.
Yeah, that goes into a tangent that ends up.
Right. Don't want to look at our faces. Oh, come on. Oh no, that's why. It's that stupid thing. It's not that. It'll be this. So we're going to do some quick polling.
Yeah.
I'm sure you answered on most of them, Maris.
When? What?
I did some polls a few months ago.
Just after the last podcast we done.
Is
it the last one or the one before?
After the first one we did. I did a lot of polling to try and gauge people's opinion about maybe Cornish independence or not.
Oh,
but
yeah,
certainly,
yeah.
what kind of ideas would possibly get you to swing your way?
This is very Bodmin centric, we will say.
Oh, good. Oh, yes.
Because it is done on the Bodmin Voice Facebook page. So we're
off,
getting a very good cross-section of the county here.
So I asked about if there was a general election in 2 weeks' time, was back in the 20th of March. It was like I was predicting the future.
Yeah.
You are a prophet.
I'm
Yeah.
not a prophet.
You know what's going on.
We asked who people would vote for. Now, most people actually said Liberal at the time. I bet you.
Yeah.
I wonder how many of them actually did vote Liberal.
That would be interesting. You should put a comment on there and see who actually replies to that.
And 2 mad people voted for Meb and Kerner. Who were they, Lewis?
Me and you. Which we've done right
you
after
were
discussing
there.
them.
Yeah.
We need to bring them up, actually. We haven't discussed them.
Yeah. No, I'm going to discuss the rest of them now. I'm doing it in reverse chronological order.
Yep.
So.
Go on.
And did you answer on that one, Maris? If there was a election in 2 weeks' time,
There's
who would you
10
vote for?
people.
Would you still vote for Kippers? If they were an available candidate?
No.
No? Fair enough.
No, because it'd just be no point. I agree with many of her.
Do you think that Cornwall would benefit from having another university in the county, whether state or privately funded? And where would you build it if you agreed?
I wouldn't want one.
You wouldn't
I don't
want
like
one.
students.
Lewis said no.
Don't see the need.
I think if you wanted to regenerate Cornwall, for me personally, I think you should. Because it's a largely elderly population, and if you want to grow, you need a much larger youth base.
Yeah, but what would happen with these people? Where would they get? Would they have any jobs, or would they? What would they do?
The thing is, you bring them down, and then they try. The idea is to train them up, and then they create their jobs. I suppose that's the idea.
I mean,
You're thinking of a long-term plan, are you?
Yeah, exactly. You look at somewhere like Falmouth, for example, where the university was built. Somewhere which I severely disagree. It was built in the wrong place. It should have been Campbell Redroof. Campbell Redroof is a deprived area. It's the kind of place that would really benefit from having a large influx of younger people in, because the industry would follow suit. They'd look at the statistics of where people stay once they've done uni, and a large amount of people stay where they've learnt. So
Cornwall and Red Roof are the most densely populated.
Yeah. It's
place
just
in Cornwall.
one place now, isn't it?
Yeah, it would be.
you could make it work.
But they've got some big they've got colleges down there, college.
Yeah, they got a science college down there, haven't they?
They've got
You
a couple,
you could revamp the
They've got
site
all
so
sorts
that
of stuff.
You could make it much more university based.
I don't like Campbell. Do you deliver down there?
I have, yeah.
I don't. I find it depressing.
Yeah, I do.
So I think you could, and some of the options I said was Campbell Redroof. A lot of people said Bodmin. No.
Well,
The only thing with Bodmin is
because it's in
central,
Bodmin.
yeah.
That's because
well-
it's in Bodmin. A lot of people said yes to Bodmin, and I absolutely disagree with you cretinous people. the other people, the other places, Launceston got a couple of votes.
Launceston.
Launceston.
I suppose I like the thought of that, because it's kind of because if you've got one down Falmouth way already, bringing it further up, so you're spreading it out a little bit.
I said yes, Campbell Redroof, and I also said yes, Campbellford.
Camelford.
Camelford seems a bit pointless.
Yeah,
There's no real
but-
what links are there. It's a bit out
There's
of way.
nothing in Camelford.
Yeah.
Exactly
Sorry,
the
Camelford.
point.
Yeah, I know.
That's
Well, yeah,
exactly the
put
point.
them up there
You
out
want
the
to
way.
create a purpose.
Yeah,
So that's the idea. You create these towns to have the purpose that they were.
I don't think Camelford would be. It would. If you just stuck
wouldn't
a
be
massive,
appealing, I
if
don't
you
think.
just stuck a big university in Camelford, it would just.
There's a big one in. I'm trying to think of which one in Wales that I stayed in. Aberystwyth is basically. It's actually built in a small village called.
Gillyfield.
Oh, what's it called? It basically was just a small village until they built the University of Aberystwyth, and then it just expanded.
All right.
And now it's profiting really well because it has lots of investment coming in, and people have ended up, working in Llanelli and Neath and the places that surround it. So there is logic to my madness.
I think if you was going to do something like that, I think is the university down Penryn and Falmouth way. Is there two, or are they part of the same thing?
You've got Falmouth.
You got Falmouth University, but
Falmouth
Penryn
Lane.
is an Exeter University.
Falmouth.
That's it.
Penryn is Exeter, like Tremo campus.
Yeah.
It's massive.
So-
It's actually massive now.
Yeah, it is huge.
Expanding
Yeah. But it needs to be. We need to. I think if you was going to do that, it would need to be focused on stuff that's like relevant to Cornwall, like fishing or maritime type
Farming.
stuff, farming,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
You can do.
Because the Falmouth University
Well,
is
they've
all
got an
about
agricultural
arts
Dutch
and
college.
culture.
I know it's not a uni, but that's
Yeah.
that's
That's
predominantly
much more-
agricultural, isn't it?
Yes. So
Yeah, well, yeah. Next.
So some other bits. Do you think we should implement a more progressive US-style tax policy where you still have the national rate taxes, but you have more say in sales tax and council tax? It's a very complex question.
Yeah, so things that people don't.
Very, very complex question.
I think the good thing about our tax system is that if you're employed, you don't even notice. You just pay your tax and you don't know what you're paying half the time, unless you've got extra things, which a lot of young people don't know about. If you've got,
I think that's a
good
decent way. Having been self-employed,
if you're
for a couple of years, it is a pain in the ass having to sort out your whole tax system.
Yeah, or pay an accountant to sort it out for you, which is just a drain on your own if you're not earning enough. But I don't know. I don't.
The whole pay thing, I think, is good enough, and not being funny. How? So what?
It was not many people answered on it because it's obviously quite a complex subject. It was 12 for, 5 against, and 4 people didn't know.
What do you think of the whole? It's a different thing, but the whole taxing that Labour wanted to implement on the higher tax band, like sort of 50% or whatever.
It would have failed miserably.
I don't mean the corporation. I just mean the 50%. Did
Yeah.
you know what I found weird? Why did they pick the number of 80,000 before you start paying like the highest tax bracket? And the MPs are on 74 grand a year.
It's funny that, isn't it?
It's strange, isn't it?
But I do agree with changing it, because I think, what is it? You've got, once you're earning 40,000,
you start.
That's when you're starting to pay 40. No, isn't it already? Isn't it already? If you're earning like 40 grand, you're paying 40% tax on anything you're earning over the 40, and you're paying like 22 or something on anything under. Plus you've got your £10,000 free. But then if you're earning 150,000, that's when you start paying 50% on everything that you're earning over that. But I think they should move that. I think they should move the 40. They should pay. The 40% tax bracket should be up nearer the 80 to £100,000 mark, and to try and bolster the middle class. If you can build the middle class up, the country's going to benefit, I think.
Yeah, but you need to make sure there's enough tax dollars coming in. If you haven't got enough tax going in,
but then
you have to pay for it.
If then you turn around and say, if you turn around and say, if you're earning over 250,000, you could say you're then going to have to pay 55% tax on that.
That'd be too much.
That's too much. Look at what Venezuela?
That's
90% tax, I think it was.
90. Yeah, that's 90%. That's not,
I know.
It's not 55.
Yes, it's.
If you're earning 250 grand, and if you
still.
then take home £500,000, if you're earning £500,000 a year, you're only getting taxed 55% on that last 250, and you're getting a better deal on the first 100. That extra 100 grand you're earning.
I'm not a fan of high tax, really.
Tax rates.
I'm not a fan of high tax. I'm just trying to make
tax rates are going to be sensible and work for everyone.
Yeah,
for those who wish.
I don't think that doesn't. If you've increased that number. Okay, so you put it up by 5%, but you've also the people that are earning between
they're gonna before they start paying the 55.
Yeah, you people that are earning between 150 and 250 are going to love it.
But that's fine. But the most richest people will tell you to get on your fucking.
Yeah, but how many people are you going to piss off with that?
Quite a few.
The trouble is,
the people with
not
the
enough
people
to
with
make
the
a
money
bloody difference.
are the people that are paying the poor people's wages. And if they bugger off, the poor people
still
will not be paid by them.
Remember the last podcast I said to you about this is the problem with creating a system where when you tax, say, corporations and the rich, and you start to tax them to a point where they start to think, I don't want to do this anymore. What you'll do is you end up those companies or those people will leave, and you may have spent the last 3 years relying on all their income or all their taxes to pay for everyone's welfare, all this and that. They leave, they take their company or whatever, they take the jobs away with them. You've immediately got, say, 1,000 people unemployed, so needing welfare. They're not paying tax because they've lost those 1,000 jobs are gone, so they're not paying tax on their jobs.
And it just increases.
Yeah, and you've got a massive black hole of where that money's going to
Yeah,
come.
but Just
The problem
if you
is,
do it in enough where it's
I know what
not
you mean,
ridiculous, like don't overdo it. But
Yeah, but
as
the
long as
pro-
it's
the problem is-
a little
It's a very
bit, and if you
delicate
choose.
balancing act.
Of course it is, but you can't. Not every company is just going to go. Oh, I'm going to have to pay another 5% on my taxes, and
yeah, but-
I'm going to fuck off.
yeah, because
You'd
a
be
lot of
amazed how many people-
because a lot of the trouble is people. I know small business quite well, and there's not always a massive profit margin on small business. Do you know what I mean? And like,
Well, no,
to-
you're not,
If you
and
start
it's selling them.
5% is
Is a
increase
lot.
is a lot when you're paying the wages.
Yeah, but that's 5%. I'm talking personal tax, not
Yeah, but even so,
And
business.
the trouble is,
Even
I had
so.
a fallout with some woman on Twitter about it because she was saying that, like, you know, if she paid, because I said about the 80 grand, she said if I was earning 80 grand a year, I'd be happy to pay that much. It's all right saying that, but
You wouldn't.
you're not
when
earning
you get
80
to that, and then you go,
It's when
wait
you-
a minute, a
yeah.
lot of my wages been eaten away, and I've worked hard for this.
Yeah.
I forget, yeah.
Yeah.
I've
I've got to
like-
go back to this side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, carry on.
So, would you pay higher taxes to ensure that privatisation doesn't occur in every facet of life, particularly with the NHS being a hot topic?
Yes.
Quite
I
a few
would.
people said they would pay 5% more. Some people said
5%
1% more.
Yeah,
including
but
me.
we've discussed this before. The thing is with it,
It's how the money is spent
yes,
as opposed
exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'm not being funny. At the moment, it's good money after bad. Really, they're just literally going, oh, we need more money. All right, have this lot, and it's
They
getting
get
to a lot of middle management.
every
and
year
stuff.
they've
Yeah.
got every year the budget of the NHS goes up.
Yeah, it does.
It's the
But-
way that it's the way it's being spent.
The whole
And
privatisation thing.
it's
you
the
might know
it's the
about this.
privatisation thing of it.
You know me, I'm very much against it. So let's.
Yeah,
see
but
what
no,
I've got
but
to
what
say.
I'm just trying to get this right. I was always under the impression that the privatisation. You hear people going, I'm not voting for Tory because I don't want to have to pay for my healthcare. I was under the impression it's not the fact you're paying for it. What it is that, say, I had a hernia op 2 years ago now.
Yeah, yeah.
When I went to have my operation, I went into Bodmin Treatment Centre, and I think it was Ramsey.
It was Ramsey, yeah.
Or someone at the
'Cause
time.
they
I
lost their
can't remember.
contract in March.
Yeah, it was Ramsey who did it. Obviously, I don't pay a penny, but I was understanding that the whole privatisation thing is that private firms are sometimes brought in to carry out small operations and stuff like that, and the NHS obviously pay that private firm
Yeah.
to do it.
Of course.
So obviously that private firm charges a bit more than the NHS, so it ends up costing the NHS more money to do my hernia than it would have done if I had it done through NHS done list.
Yeah.
It's
But so this is my whole argument with the privatisation thing isn't that you're going to have to start paying for it like America do, for instance. It would still
it's
be
a
free at the
matter
point of
fact
access, wouldn't it?
How much privatisation are we gonna get until it gets to a point when?
Do you think it would get to a point where we'd have to
There's
pay?
every possibility.
Well, I'll give you an example. I had a cyst right in the middle of my head, right, horrible
You
looking
still have
thing.
it now.
Yeah.
Right, it's still a little bit
really,
there.
really ugly.
Yeah.
You're just a very ugly man.
Yeah, I know, it's just all over my face.
You went, I've got a cyst
but I
here,
went
and the
into-
doctor went, no, that's your
No,
face.
Yeah.
That's a genuine 100% face.
Yeah.
Operate on that.
So I went into the doctor's surgery, and they said, "Oh, we can't do anything for you because it's considered cosmetic." So I would have had to pay for it. But you're talking. I looked up the prices. The prices I found ranged between 200 and like 500 or 600.
Why would that be considered cosmetic?
Because it's nothing. It's not harmful. It didn't hurt. It didn't. It's
Yeah,
just,
but still, if you've got a
It's
cyst on your
right
head,
in the-
potentially
right in between my
life-affecting.
eyes. It's right in between my eyes. But it was.
Your cyst
Like,
was
If I painted it
unknown.
red, I would look like a fucking moving target.
yeah,
but-
You do
yeah,
anyway, Lewis.
Yeah, no, true. But I didn't help myself.
No,
So what?
Right.
Did you have it done private then?
No, my mother done it.
A lanced it.
She just got
just
a
went-
I used
scalpel
to
and
get
gave
them
it a
over
go.
side my thing, and it
It
used
was
to get
minging.
massive, man.
Horrible
Wow.
thing. But like, that's the type of thing. It starts off like that, and then then it's hernias, and then it's do you know what I
Yeah.
mean, or something like that.
And you look at dentistry now.
Yeah.
Dentistry
Yeah.
is just completely gone.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
NHS dentists, you normally have to pay, didn't you? Don't you have to pay 20 quid?
So
or
it's
something
like
that?
15 quid for a checkup on an NHS dentist.
I think, yeah, I don't
it's
think
a
it's
lot
free.
cheap. It's a lot cheaper on the NHS than it is private.
Oh, it is.
Oh, yeah, of
But what
course.
I mean, you're
But
still
that's-
obviously paying
that's
for
the
it, aren't
problem.
you?
Yeah.
You're having to pay for it, and I think if too much
Do you know
of
what
it
gets
goes-
me though? the people that are complaining about privatisation of the NHS, this will offend people, but I don't care, who are going, why should I have to pay for it? or eating a burger, really fat, smoking a fag, do you know what I mean? And going, this isn't, I don't want to have to pay for my health care.
People who don't help themselves.
Yeah, I think you've got to have some point. It's like the whole... There's a
good point.
Well, I used to
that.
deliver to the hospital, and it would drive me insane because there'd be people there that are like practically yellow because their livers have failed or whatever, and they're outside like having a fag with their drip attached to it, and I just think, really, do you know what I mean? That annoys me.
So some other bits whilst we're still
here, go on.
Whilst the camera's focused on my face. Should we focus on making Cornwall a tourist haven all year round, or move away from tourism and focus on business growth? What do you think were the what do you think were the more popular options?
Well, I can see it, but the grow both alongside each other was the biggest one.
People feel that tourism is very important and that we should still grow it.
Sorry, that was us.
That was us. Live.
There's a lot of repeating. Lewis is gonna have a.
I think it's a slight delay. We have been watched. People have been tuning in and out. I don't know.
Thinking, they're watching now. Still babbling on about
we're on
some
a different
shit.
screen. Yeah.
Yes.
But
So yeah, a lot of people said that they should grow both alongside each other.
I wouldn't listen to any of it. Sorry.
Should we as a Cornwall, should we try and move away from tourism and look at more other, like,
or should we
various
grow all ventures at the same rate?
The problem with tourism, I think, obviously it's good while it lasts, but then when it doesn't last, and like you go to Newquay and it's practically dead all winter, and
could you not make it an all year round thing, or is that not possible?
Well, you could, but what would you have really?
I don't think the
come here and go in the really, really cold water. Well, even though it's cold anyway, but
it's not.
Yeah, I was going to say you're not going to swim.
It's not. Cornwall's not as beautiful in the winter either, but I think we should be focused on growth of other things. But I just don't think you're going to get away from tourism. It's not the tourism's just going to come. Cornwall invites it. Not the people don't invite it. The place invites it because of what we have to offer.
Beauty.
Yes. It is, and the beaches and stuff, and that's what people come for.
Which I hate.
Well,
what you hate Cornwall?
No, I love Cornwall. I hate tourists, but that's because of the job I'm in. It's right for you.
As a journalist once asked me, they said, "What is the thing you hate the most? The necessary evil that is tourism in Cornwall."
It is.
We shouldn't be reliant on it.
No,
we shouldn't. But
it'd be great if we could grow it. But
this is the thing. When what was it? Something happened. Was it last year?
We haven't got the infrastructure to grow it there either.
And not yet.
Some of the ways that we do stuff is wrong. Do you know what? Actually, in a past podcast with Jim Bob, we was talking about location of different facilities and services and things that they've decided.
This is the first podcast, isn't
it? Yeah. So we were talking. The topic, the big one that came up was putting an eco town in St Austell, which is like an industrial sort of town, like with all the clay works and all that sort of stuff. Seems stupid to put an industrial village right next to a place that's whatever, which was a good point. I was talking to the lady that became the local councillor for my district here in St Blasey, and we was talking about the stadium for Cornwall. This idea of building a stadium and putting that in Truro. And she said, great idea. Put it all in Truro and everything's in Truro. So it's so much like put it in Roach or like Victoria, somewhere like that, or Indian Queen, somewhere around on the A30. Right in the A30, right in the middle of flipping everything. It's a good place to there's areas like that could be used.
It's a matter of growing the places that can be used to potentially grow it.
Yeah.
Which is why I would say, if you're going to do a uni thing, put it somewhere where it is heavily disadvantaged, not a Bodmin or
Truro or something like that, where
everything's going into Truro now, and it's just
So there's four more. Should we adopt the Australian policy of making it mandatory to vote?
We discussed this last time.
You
said no.
You said no. I said yes.
What, you think that people should be made to vote?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Simple.
Drag them out of their homes.
I think.
How do you police that?
Well, they have to go and register a card or something like that.
Exactly.
I suppose so.
And, you know, if they're that
But if
desperate to
voting day is
abstain,
over,
then
what
they
happens? What's the punishment if you don't vote?
You
Get
get
killed?
fined.
You get killed.
You have your
Yeah,
hand,
you get fined.
you have
Oh,
your
dear.
finger cut off
Yeah.
for every time you don't vote.
I remember when I lost
Yeah,
this
but no,
one, when
I
I didn't vote in the 2018 election.
No, but I think that I don't agree with that because I think, like I said, this year I almost didn't vote because neither of the two
I'm
parties
sure,
which it was
I'm
worth
sure
a
you
vote.
would still have the option of abstinence, but I don't know how you would get about it.
I
Go in
just
there
think
and
that
you default your card.
Sure-
you stick
surely-
it
Yeah.
if they
Default
don't,
your card.
if none of the parties meet your standard, you shouldn't be made to choose the lesser of all
yeah.
of them or something like that.
Of course. So, next question. Stick with the Queen or become a republic and abolish the Queen?
I think stick with the Queen.
I just think there's no need to get rid of her, is there? There's no need to get rid of the monarchy now.
No.
They don't
although,
really do.
Although a very interesting article from the Daily Mail, Prince Harry says no one wants to become the next king or queen.
What do you mean?
Front page of the Daily Mail.
All right.
Prince Harry
That's
said,
fine.
I don't think any of the family are ready to become the next.
All right. Well, I'll
king
tell
or
you
queen.
what I'll do then. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm a monarchist as such. Like I like the idea of us having a queen as a head of state and stuff.
I wouldn't like to
But-
be her though.
When Prince Harry comes out and says that, I would say, okay, give up everything you have, and give us the money that you make out of it. If no one wants to stand up and, do you know what I mean? If you don't want to take on the mantle of the life
Yeah.
you're accustomed to, if you like, or what it's given you,
It-
then
it's almost like giving us the cards to say, well, we'll go and get a presidency then.
Yeah.
If you
The
don't want to take over it.
The trouble is as well though, that even if they did like abstain fully, they would still be followed. They would still
Yeah.
be the lineage was it's so ingrained
Of
in our
course.
culture. They will still be followed. You're still going to try and find out who George's children are.
Of course they are.
Do you know what I mean? You're still going to want to.
Yeah.
The country still want to know.
I would like Harry to have a DNA test.
To do a DNA test, right?
Oh, you do not know.
Harry.
So
Don't
Princess Diana.
Don't you think? What's your opinion on it?
Well,
They look a lot. They look quite similar in a way.
yeah, I do think
Definitely
Charlie's his dad,
brothers.
but
Do you?
yeah, I think so.
I don't know, but,
But,
if you see a
you
photo
know-
of Hewitt, man,
Yeah, man,
I think
it's-
it is quite scary.
There's,
Who's this?
so, Lewis doesn't know this, does he? So, back in the 80s,
Oh, yeah, 'cause he's
Princess
young.
Diana, the immortal, like,
She
she's
shall
the
never
greatest
be
Britain.
criticised.
She shall never be criticised because she hugged children with AIDS. Was
And walked across minefields.
and
when,
walked
like-
across minefields, which is very noble. I will add. But she was cheating on Charles in the 80s with a man called James Hewitt.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I,
It
I
is
do-
Who
alleged.
looks exactly like.
It is.
Is that definitely confirmed then?
Yeah, she admitted
Yeah,
it.
because
yeah.
Oh, right,
he
she
was knocking off Camilla anyway.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
They
were
all
all-
knew it.
They were both cheating on each other, and it is alleged that Prince Harry may not actually be the son of Prince Charles.
Ah.
It might be
Well, the thing
James
is,
Hewitt.
the thing is,
He's ginger though.
yeah, but so
Wasn't
Hewitt.
Charles? Was he?
William looks exactly like.
Oh, yeah.
He is.
He is.
exactly
He is.
Oh,
like-
yeah.
He looks exactly like
Charles
mother.
and mother, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Whereas Prince Harry, there's always been that inkling of doubt, shall we
The fact
say?
that he's ginger and freckled.
Right.
Intriguing.
Sorry for upsetting anyone then.
Oh no, we.
I don't mean you.
Where's the rest? I'm missing like a couple here. Where the
Eh?
bugger have they gone?
What was the results on that last question then?
31 said monarchy and 16 said republic.
I think a lot of youngsters are very
Yeah,
Republican.
Where
and,
are the rest?
is
I seem to be missing a couple here. Where are we?
Let's go back. You didn't delete them.
No, I wouldn't have deleted them. Where have they gone, you little bastards? Because the other,
I don't know.
because one of them is on your favourite subject, Lewis.
What's that?
Oh,
Penises.
You're my favourite.
Lewis's love for cock. I'm gonna have to hunt this down now. I wonder if I can just exclusively read it on that.
How long have we been going for?
It's way over 2 hours now.
Way over 2 hours, so this could be a 2-part special.
I think we should
Have to be.
can try and wrap
We have
this
to wrap
up.
this up because I got to go. I've got to be
Yeah.
up for about 5:30.
No, you'll be fine.
You'll be alright, mate.
Children, you know how to deal with no sleep now. Let's see.
Do you remember what it was?
It was all about the cannabis, Lewis, and whether it should be legalised or not.
Well, that was an interesting thing. Liberal Democrats gained some votes, didn't they? Gained some seats. That was one of their things, wasn't it?
It was indeed one of their things. Obviously, not the nationwide grab they were probably looking for.
No,
but
it didn't get a whole lot of publicity, did it?
No, it's one of those things. I did that poll. I'm going to come back here.
Yeah.
Because I haven't got the actual results. But I did the poll on 2 different sites. I'm also part of a conservative debate group, and my God, it's like night and day.
Yeah.
Comparing Bobbin Voice and the conservative debate group. Now, I did the results on Bobbin Voice. I remember that quite a few people said that it should be given free reign. No.
What? Cannabis?
reign?
Yeah, just free reign. Just
like-
don't regulate it. Just let people.
No, I think if you go
That
down
is-
the route, you have to regulate.
Some of the people who were saying yes are what's the best way of putting it?
Potheads.
Slightly unhinged, I think, is
Alright.
the. And there might have been some potheads there. Yeah, absolutely. The vast majority said legalise and regulate.
Yeah.
I know you said that.
Yeah, definitely.
I said that. Your view?
I'd probably legalise it and regulate it just for the fact that it's been so downclassed now anyway. I think most of the time, if people are stopped with weed or whatever, they probably don't even get a caution anymore, do they?
I think
Depends,
they may
yeah, if you're
still get a
walking-
caution. They'd
Yeah.
certainly lose whatever they had, and the police would just.
I think it's one of those things where like.
Depends how much you got.
Like, not being
Yeah.
funny, I go to I deliver to people's houses and they open the door and it stinks.
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely
you
stinks
smell
of
it,
weed.
yeah.
And I think if a policeman turned up that door for whatever reason, they probably wouldn't even do anything. Do you know what I mean? If it was a young
Well,
cousin
I don't know.
there-
I'll tell you what, you walk past-
They'd investigate it.
You walk past some place and you see like then I don't know, 100 meters down the road or just around the corner, just down the street, there's like a community support police officer walking down. You know full well they're going to walk past the house.
Yeah.
They're going to smell it.
I
you know?
just think.
I'll tell you what, Lewis, in your old gaff in Bodmin,
Yeah.
just up the road from mine, if you go for a heavy session and you've gone nightclub and you're walking home,
Yeah.
every time I walk past, it's like, whoop, yep. Walking past there, it's
Is it-
very
you-
obvious.
Yeah.
I think the trouble is, I wouldn't say it's a harmless drug, at all,
It's definitely not harmless.
but the trouble is, in a way, it's so like almost socially acceptable now that is it really worth the time of the police doing anything about it? Really, do you know what I mean?
So
I'm still a
one
bit
of the more
like-
one of the more interesting results that came from the Bottom Voice one. Not many people said no, but the 2 people that did say no, I believe, were both police officers.
Interesting.
Yeah,
There,
oh, yeah.
I do think that's a skewed view as well, though, because in some
It may
ways,
be
because
skewed, but obviously
because
they've
if
seen-
you're in that institution, and you've been shown every bad negative thing,
Yeah, but
That goes along with it.
they've seen the
and
effects.
and they've seen the extreme cases that are bad.
It's why you know.
But what percentage of that is and sort of the mental health side of things?
I think there's a huge link between cannabis and mental health.
Oh yeah,
I think-
100%.
I think there's a big link in the sense that heavy usage and from a young age
Don't get me wrong.
contribute a lot. And I think, but it's also the state. It's who you are as well.
Yeah,
How many
I was
people?
just
How
about
many
to say, I
people
know
can
loads of
smoke?
people-
There's so many people around the UK that probably smoke all day, every day, and have no issue at all.
Yeah, I know
Yeah, some
several
people
people
do.
who are like full on, like that's all they ever do really.
Yeah.
But they go to work, they function, they're absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Then I know other people that have had it a little bit of a habit and they've got anxiety, and I think,
Yeah,
like you said,
it's
it's how they
definitely
handle it. I suppose it's like...
I think it's what you get as well. Like, if you know, if you can go to a shop and you've got you can pick your wine,
Yeah.
and you pick which one you want. Do you know what I mean? Which variety?
Well, the thing is,
you want.
you know then as well that, like you said,
it's
you
a
find
safe,
a favourite.
regulated industry.
Years ago, those people were spraying like fiberglass stuff onto weed, and obviously it looks like it's more crystally, so people were buying it and smoking it. I don't think it damaged them in a way, but it's obviously not good for you. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But no, I think like that whole...
It's a tax revenue as well.
Of course.
It's just money that you
more interestingly to me, when I looked at the Conservative results, I was surprised how many people were in favour. Not because they wanted more social libertarian freedom, but because money. They were like, money.
It's another business. Creates jobs, doesn't it?
Exactly. They were just like money. But there
Creates
was also
official jobs, I should say.
There was also a few people who would say that there would needed to be tighter restrictions, whereas not a single person on Bottom Voice said there should be tighter restrictions. Not a
tighter
single
restrictions in what way?
Just like Maris was saying, people and the police are now fairly light.
Oh right,
with people who.
Make the tighter restrictions.
Make it more like illegal,
make it a more
make it class A.
Make it like a stronger criminal offence.
Yeah, I think if you say that, you're on the wrong side of history.
The thing is, if cigarettes, people say, and it's true, if cigarettes and alcohol were to sort of like suddenly come on the market now, or be
banned,
it would be banned straight away. Of course.
Well, I think that's half the problem why it isn't being pushed through and it's not being talked about as loudly as what it probably should be, is because those two markets are probably heavily invested in trying not making it legal, because they will both suffer hugely. Both those markets, and they're massive money makers. I mean,
Well, this 2-hour show has gone
nearly 2.5 hours. I'd said we should only be an hour and a half. We've been
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours.
It's too easy. It's too easy to talk. I keep
Maybe
saying
we should do it more regularly. And
I would be up for doing it. Like,
if I could do it more regularly, then I would. But it's obviously trying to get the time to get together. Yeah. It's never that easy, unfortunately.
Well, I'd be up for like even if we did like a half-hour show or a 45-minute show or something like that, and then like I said to you, we could do, obviously not every week or whatever, but you could do topics of the week if you like, or topics of the couple of weeks.
The only other suggestion I would come up with, but it's my problem for Lewis trying to get his equipment sorted out, is if you could do Google Hangout.
Yeah,
that would be the easiest. Yeah, that would be the easiest way to do it. Google Hangout is very similar to Skype.
Oh, right.
You set up a Google Hangout and then you just talk there and then live, like kind of like this Facebook streaming. Mm-hmm. But you could do it at home. But obviously it would depend on the quality of his mic and the mics of your laptop.
Yeah,
I have full enough faith in mine. Mine's a relatively new laptop, so the mic quality is fairly good.
You'd want to get a reasonable laptop microphone. You can get USB ones and stuff. Anyway, what I was going to say was that, well, for this anyway, I want to do a weekly show anyway. I want to talk to different people, obviously, from different places.
It'd be fucked off of us coming up here every week. Lewis!
I mean, if we want to do an extra, whenever we want to catch up and do it, if anyone says got anything they want to get off their chest, whenever, we can set it up.
You never know, you could get Councillor Lee for us.
Yeah, I need to get Lee back on.
We'll have to see what people's feedback is on it, because
of course
they'll probably be like, don't get that
lots of
evil,
comments,
Islamophobic, racist Maris back on, because he's a right-wing lunatic.
Which is more case to have you back on, because we need to have balance.
Yeah, definitely.
Me and Lewis, like I said, when we did the political compass, we were very similar.
Yeah, but
you can't have two people who are similar.
I'm not that far out of your...
Mr. Maris, perhaps on the next show, if we're doing perhaps we can trial the Google Hangout. Maybe you and me, so that Lewis can have a small break from it. Or we may just send you what we do. Yeah. We can experiment with a Google Hangout. We can get you to do the political compass there and then. Right, or whichever political test. One that might be a bit easier to handle and whatever.
Yeah,
and then we can send it over to him and see what he thinks.
Yeah, I'm game.
We can
Well,
try to
do
do
this
that.
episode.
We can get again together and do.
Yeah, we can do
Exactly.
it
Well,
together.
whatever way. Like I said, we can always trial new things
Yeah, definitely.
because we are a progressive society. as much as Maris doesn't want it to be progressive, we want to advance. We want it for the future, not the
And
past.
obviously, always trying to focus on Cornwall.
Of course.
We
have not.
We went
haven't-
so far away from
I think
Cornwall.
we've talked more about the Middle East
We
and
did.
like
It's-
America and stuff. Haven't we?
Like I said, with so much going on, it was inevitable.
It's hard to not talk about it as well.
well, to be fair, nothing happens down here.
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah, but you wait.
Don't say that.
I disagree.
I disagree.
I disagree as well.
In maybe in the international stage, maybe nothing happens, but it's damn important when them bombing roadworks get opened up, which we didn't even fucking cover.
Yeah, we didn't even cover.
We didn't even cover
Right,
bombing fucking. No, not now.
Yeah.
Let's not start. We'll be here
Not
for
now,
another
yeah.
hour.
We'll be here for
Come
another
on,
hour.
let's go.
That's-
Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up then.
Yeah.
Well, do your little closing sound.
Well,
then.
thank you everybody who's tuned in on Facebook Live, for one.
Yes, absolutely. Thank
and
you.
thanks to everybody
thank
that's
you.
listening over the airwaves of the podcasting.
Yeah, cheers.
And if you're watching on YouTube now, you're not actually gonna watch. I don't know why I put my thumbs up, but I put my thumbs up to you, all right? So, because you wouldn't have seen that.
And
but
anyone else who
wicked.
decides to watch on any other medium.
Yes, anything else that's out
So-
there. But you can get this on iTunes and YouTube from now, and Stitcher. So give it a whirl.
Have you not got a SoundCloud yet?
No, I haven't done SoundCloud.
Get that-
yet.
get that
I should
shit on
do
SoundCloud, boy.
Yeah, should put it up. I should be able to RSS feed it straight across. Anyway, that's technical issues that
lost
we
me.
should.
Just stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much for listening to the KernoCast. This I'm Lewis Pauling signing out. We have
Me.
me,
Maris.
Cheers, Nave.
and Jameson all saying goodbye. So all best, everyone. Cheers and gone. So that's the end of another episode of the KernoCast. I hope you enjoyed it. I know they're quite long, but that's what we're looking for. We're looking for deep, meaningful conversations about, important issues around Cornwall, even though we didn't really touch on Cornwall a great deal in these past couple of episodes. But hopefully that will change. In the process of getting some Cornish guests that want to talk about their things that they're doing around Cornwall, isn't it? Yeah, bloody handsome it is. Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, thanks very much for listening, and I hope you will come back again. Throw us a like, throw us some, subscribe everywhere, and leave some comments and do what you got to do. Let us know what you think of the KernoCast. Cheers, my dears.